Hey there. This is an area in our landscape that has a lot of ground cover. And as you can see, it really takes off. So along this edge, pan back over here where you can see this, we actually have landscape edging that defines the border where the lawn and the edging is. And one of the things that I like to try to do is keep this trimmed to where, you can at least see the edging, and you can see down here how it's kind of really, taken off with all the spring rains and the warm weather that we've had. And it's actually getting out into the area where the lawn is. And my wife, she doesn't actually hate it. She likes to leave it like this. But what I'm trying to avoid are the areas like right here that you can see where it's kind of starting to kill the grass because the ground cover is actually shading the lawn, and it's kind of trying to take over the area. So what I would normally do, and we'll show you some of this, is come in here with a weed eater, either my gasoline powered one or my smaller battery powered one, and trim this back. But I'm not real crazy about the rough, torn looking edges that it leaves. So I'm going to try a slightly different method today and see how it works. So let me get that set up and we'll get going, and you can let me know what you think. So what I've got is a pair of just battery powered Black+Decker hedge clippers that I've used. And what I'm trying to do, I think you can probably see this, is I run the blade right along the edge of the edging and just try to shape this up a little bit so it doesn't look, you know, too out of control, if you will, and trim just a little bit of this off. And yeah, a lot of you may say, well, you're going to get those down in the dirt and get them ruined and, all of that. And that may be the case, but I try to keep it up out of the dirt, and I clean these very well, brush them off with my a wire brush or a little stiff bristle brush after each use, blow it all out with an air hose, and apply WD-40 and or lubricant as needed after each use. But for me, this is working pretty easy. I don't know. You can let me know what you think. So I don't know. I kind of like this method. I prefer this method. I don't know. You can let me know what you do, what you try. And yeah, I've got weed eaters. I could, use a weed eater to do this, but I just kind of like the way this looks and the simplicity of how it works for me. And it's just a method that I try. If you've tried this or you have another method that you prefer, let us know. But anyway, I wanted to share this tip with how we trim the edges of some of our ground cover and what I use to trim it with. For years, I had used a weed eater, or one of my weed eaters, and again, I never liked the way the edges looked all rough and torn and frayed. And one day I was like, I'm just going to try these hedge clippers along the edges and see how it looks. And it just makes to me, it makes a cleaner cut. It just looks better. Now, yes, this bed has a few what I call whisker weeds, and I think maybe you can see those. If you get down here low and look across, some new growth and then some other weeds and maybe random pecan trees that are trying to come up from the squirrels. But we'll come back probably with my lightweight battery powered weed eater and just gently trim the top of this to shape it up. And maybe we'll show you some of that next. So just a lightweight 20 volt BLACK+DECKER battery powered weed eater is what I prefer to use to do this with if I'm not, having to get real aggressive. And then, of course, I always prefer to wear my eye protection when I'm doing this. And again, we're just going to go in and lightly trim off what I call some of the whisker weeds and shape this up a little bit. So here's another tip. I always try to pay attention to which way my weed eater that I'm using turns. And this particular one turns clockwise, I believe. Yes. So what I try to do is where I'm weed eating, I weed eat because I know this is turning clockwise in such a method that I don't want all of the clippings coming out here in my lawn. I want them to stay in the bed. So, just be cognizant of when you're doing that, and you can kind of control where your clippings are go. You can even do that when you're, trimming the edge of your lawn or grasses or other things as well. Every once in a while, I'll come back out here and, kind of look at it from a distance and make sure there's not something that I've missed. Okay, all done for this time. And you can see it looks pretty nice, pretty tidy, if you will. I found a few, like a dead tree limb here that I'll put in my brush pile, but just wanted to get it cleaned up and looking nice. And I do try to keep it, if you noticed, I try to keep it off of these trees. When we moved into this property, this ground cover had just been let go, and it was way up in a lot of the trees that were here that are no longer here, that are dead. This stuff just chokes the trees out. So I do try to keep it out of the trees for the most part and kind of keep it in check because it's so aggressive. It just takes off. And then you probably saw me on the back of my property. I also try to keep it out of my neighbor's yard back here. I've actually trimmed it back probably 4 feet wide along the fence row back here. And I actually went in, I guess it was last year, I got a load of bark mulch from an arborist. And I went in and put down cardboard and did the bark mulch along the fence to kind of help me keep this in check. But that's just, one thing I do to kind of keep it in check. And then we've got a walking area that I can kind of peruse the perimeter of the property, if you will, back here. You can see it just goes all the way back along this ground cover bed. But I do, like I said, try to keep it, trimmed back and keep it in check. But that's just kind of how I trim mine up. I do this probably 3 times a year, a couple of times probably during the spring, and then once late in the summer, just to kind of keep it shaped up and trimmed up. And after a few days of sunshine and even some more rains that are coming that we've got predicted, it'll perk back up. And it looks a little rough right now where I was in there walking around, kind of stepping on it, but it'll all come right back. So let me know, if you have ground cover, how you take care of it. Maybe you've got another method that you prefer, or something that works better. We're always looking for a better way or an easier way necessarily to do something. I always say work smarter, not harder. That's what I try to tell all my people that work for me. But let me know what you think. Appreciate any comments or feedback that you may have, in the comment section below. Check out the description. I'll try to put some more tidbits of information in the description. Like the video if you like this. Follow us if you could. That really helps. Share a link to our channel. And thanks for watching. This has been Don with the DIY Collaborative.